What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my solo role-playing and wargaming channel. I'm the Lonely Dungeoneer, and this is Session 5 of Let's Play Chainmail Solo. In the last session, we completed the character creation process, running through creation for two different characters. Really one and a half, I should say. This is Shatha. Shatha is our mentor, the Lonely Knight, that will guard, protect, and guide our player character. And then we also created our actual solo role-playing character, Sambor, the fighting man apprentice to Shatha and hopeful Lonely Knight. And in today's session, I'm ready to actually begin role-playing. We have a campaign backdrop in Westmoor. We have a starting village in Nisme-le-Bains that we generated using the sandbox generator. And we have our duo, our party of two, with our one player character, the apprentice Lonely Knight, Sambor. And I think that's everything that we really could need to get started with role-playing. I've actually started with a lot less than this, so I'm excited to dive into the action. Now, there are actually a few different ways that we could handle this. We could treat this campaign in true sandbox fashion. We could step into Shatha and Sambor's shoes in Nisme-le-Bains with no particular goal in mind. We could play in true sandbox fashion and just see what adventure presents itself to our party. Or we could rather generate a problem or a thread for our duo to be solving as the campaign begins. And I don't think I mind either way. So I believe I'm going to leave this up to fate. I'm going to open, this is the Mythic Game Emulator 2nd edition. This is our solo role-playing oracle. I'm going to jump down to the collected tables. We're going to head over to the fate check, and I'm going to ask a question to the oracle. And what I want to ask here is whether Sambor and Shatha are currently on an adventure. And actually, to be more specific, are they currently pursuing some specific thread or goal? And I don't know the answer to this, so I'm just going to roll. I'm going to make this a pure 50-50. And we get 7 and 4 is 11. So yes, they are on a specific mission in Nisme-le-Bains. Okay, so we need to figure out what that is. I'm going to turn to a new resource. Now, the simplest and fastest way to dive into the action for a first scene, what we're really doing now is we're coming up with a first scene for the campaign. The default and quickest way to go about this is just to generate a random event. Roll for a random event focus and for a pair of action words, and you'll get something that is happening at the onset of your adventure. And that's a really cool and quick way to go about it. There's also the 4 W's method that's described in the book, and I believe it's who is acting, where are they acting, what are they doing, and maybe why are they there, right? And you use the action table and description tables to understand the who, what, where, why questions. And that'll get you an even more detailed starting point for the first scene of your campaign. And either of these are great options. I've used both of them to excellent effect. Today, I'm going to use another resource just kind of for fun. This is the Adventure Crafter, and this is an older book than Mythic GME 2nd edition. But this is a book that allows you, it really helps you to craft entire adventures. The book works by generating turning points inside of plots. So there's some terminology here, but you could generate a series of turning points to kind of craft a linear adventure like you would see in a published adventure, right, in a campaign book. You could also just generate a single turning point to kick off a mission, and I think that's what we're going to do today. We're going to use the Adventure Crafter to generate a plot line with a single turning point, and what that is going to translate to for us is the opening of some kind of conflict. And this book is really interesting. Let's dive into it. The first thing to know about the Adventure Crafter is that each adventure has a series of adventure themes, and really there are 5 themes. They're action, tension, mystery, social, and personal. And really these themes just point to giant tables of like plot elements, right? So we're going to roll on a table to select a theme, and then we're going to go to that theme's table to roll for a plot element. We're going to mash several plot elements together to get a situation that is our starting thread at the beginning of our adventure. And so the first thing that you have to do here is kind of rank these 5 themes in the order that you would more like your adventure to go. So the themes that you place near the top of your list are just more likely to be rolled and to occur. The themes near the bottom of your list are less likely. So you can kind of steer your adventure towards a feel without railroading it in that direction, and you still can and will get elements from themes lower in your list. Okay, so I have sorted the 5 themes. I think for this adventure, I'm going to have action as the primary theme. We're going to follow that up with social, since we're playing as kind of peacekeepers. It would make sense to have maybe social conflict that we need to deconflict. We have a really good charisma too, right? So our player character really could shine there. Next, I have mystery, right? Plot points about raising and answering questions, followed by tension. Tension is kind of like a horror feel. And then finally, I have personal, which is related to individual goals and aspirations. And I think that this theme will become more prevalent once we're kind of playing more solo and not in a duo with Shatha. Okay, so now that we have that in place, the next thing we're going to do is create a turning point. And again, if you're using the adventure crafter to build a larger, more linear adventure, or even a non-linear adventure, right, you could kind of expand out from a central node and give a lot of options for a party on an adventure. Because I like to play in a more sandbox style, I really only will create one turning point for a plot line at a time. You can consider a plot line to be like a thread with a common goal, right? And a turning point to be some major event that happens along that plot line. These are the terms that the adventure crafter uses. And if you just create a single plot line and a single turning point, then you essentially have an open-ended like thread starter in a pretty interesting one based on the prompts in this book. So to create a turning point, we need from 2 to 5 plot points. So we're going to roll 5 times on the plot point theme table, and then we're going to go and roll on the respective theme table for a plot point. And then I'm going to make a note of each of these plot points, and we're going to cram them all together into one turning point, which is one kind of series of events that will give us a starting goal or guide us towards a starting goal in our campaign. This is a pretty cool process. You'll see how it all comes together. The thing to know is that some of the results will be none intentionally. So you're going to roll 5 times, but you could have from 2 to 5 plot points. We'll have no more than 5 because we're only going to roll 5 times, but we have to have at least 2 plot points to cram together into our turning point. Okay, that's a lot of terminology, and we're not going to use the adventure crafter too much unless we just kind of get stuck and want a random mission for our lonely nights. Then we might come back to this. So don't feel like you have to memorize this. Just kind of sit back, relax, and see how it works. So we're going to need 3d10 for this. And actually, the first d10 roll is selecting the theme. So I have this table written down next to me so I don't have to keep scrolling up and referring to it. And basically, if we roll a 1 to 4, we're going to get a result of action. 5 to 7 is going to be social. 8 and 9 is going to be mystery. So this is the vast majority of the themes of the plot points that we should get. If we roll a 10, the first time it'll be tension, the second time it'll be personal, and every other time we'll flip back and forth. So that's how that works. Now if I scroll down to the tables, we have this giant and epic table of themes. Here it is. Here it starts. So we roll a d100 on this table. of plot points, and we go to the corresponding theme, and we find the row, and it'll give us a plot point, which is pretty cool. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started with rolling plot points. The first one, our theme, rolling a d10, we get a 9. Ooh, this is going to be mystery. Okay, so now we roll a d100. On the mystery table, we get 16, so we get a mystery. 9 through 24 on mystery is none. Okay, so our first plot point is none. Okay, plot point number 2, rolling a d10, we get a 6. Okay, a 6 is the theme social. So now we're going to roll a d100. On the social table, we get, that is 93. Okay, so we'll go to social, we'll scroll down to 93, and you can see this is a quite large table. We should actually get a plot point here. Okay, 93 on our second roll is argument. A disagreement between two characters leads to a conflict in this turning point. Ooh, okay. That was argument. I'm going to mark social 93 in case I want to come back here. Okay, so we're starting off with an argument between some characters. Interesting. So we have two characters that are arguing, and so that's an important thing to note here is that we have essentially rolled for the creation of two characters. Unless we already know a character, like maybe the mayor or someone is a part of this dispute, we're likely to have to roll two new characters for this plot point. Pretty cool. Okay, so we're starting with an argument. Plot point number 3. Rolling a d10, we get 9. This is mystery again. Okay, so the adventure crafter really wants us to have a mysterious element. We get 74, so we're going to go to the mystery table and we're going to scroll up to 74, and we get a plot point. Hidden agenda. A character either reveals or is found out to have a motive that they had not previously exposed. For instance, maybe the detective isn't investigating the murder out of dedication to his job, but the victim used to be a love interest of his. Classically, this can also be the ally who turns out to be an enemy. The hidden agenda doesn't have to be something nefarious, although it can be. Whichever the case, the agenda now becomes known to others. Ooh, so this hidden agenda very well could have sparked the argument, or the argument could have drawn attention and brought out the hidden agenda. Okay, so that was a mystery. And what? That was 74? Okay, interesting. So we have an argument, we have a hidden agenda, and that is 3 plot points down. We'll roll for the 4th. A 3, so we're going to get an action. Plot point, rolling, I get 29. So the first table is the action table. I'll scroll up, and for 29 we get a character is attacked in a lethal way. An assailant is trying to kill a character. Oh my gosh. A character is attacked. I'll leave it at that. And it's a lethal way. That was an action 29. And finally, for our 5th and final plot point, I'll roll a d10. We get a theme of 10. This is going to be tension. Okay, rolling a d100, we get 54 on the tension table, which is going to lead us to suspicion. This turning point involves a character being suspicious of another character for some reason. For instance, a beloved leader on a space station is murdered, and suddenly every newcomer on board is viewed with suspicion. Oh my gosh, all of these plot points play together so well, seemingly. Okay, so out of our 5 potential plot points, we rolled for 4 of them. This last one is a tension. That is 54. Okay, this is just for my reference so I can easily scroll back and forth to the plot points. So now we have these 4 aspects of this event, right? Some event with a common thread is unfolding. We have an argument between 2 characters. We have a hidden agenda exposed. We have someone being attacked with lethal intent. And we have suspicion. We have a new suspicion. Wow. Okay, so the next thing to do is to think through these plot points and to merge them together into a common story thread. And there's a few ways we could go about this. We could consider each plot point to be a step in a series of events, and that might be an easy starting point. Might be an easy way to get started. Okay, so the first thing, I guess what we could do to start is we could go back to the argument, social 93. Okay, and we could roll for what characters we're arguing. We could start to ask questions about that. Yeah, so the text here says, a disagreement between two characters leads to a conflict in this turning point. If I'm looking at our character sheet, I'm going to assume that it's not Shatha and Sambor. We're neutral, very level-headed peacekeepers. We're not in conflict. I'm going to make that assumption. It's two people in or around Nismay-le-Bains, and this conflict is obviously it's obviously created tension that we are here to resolve. That's how I feel that this is going. So if I look at our notes for Nismay-le-Bains, we have the misunderstood witch as a part of our potential context, and we have a hidden agenda that's been exposed. Okay, so that kind of makes perfect sense. So I guess I'll ask the fate chart. I'll make a fate check. Are one of these characters that are in an argument, was one of them the misunderstood witch? I'm going to say, based on everything we know, that this is nearly certain. And, we get a 2 and a 1 is a 3 plus 4 is 7. It was not the misunderstood witch. Oh my gosh. Okay, so someone completely new. Interesting. Okay, let's roll for 2 entirely new characters. That is quite interesting. Okay, I'm going to go into Mythic Game Master Emulator's element meanings tables. We're going to go to the character identity table. I'm going to discover meaning on this table twice, and that's going to inform the identity of the 2 individuals that had an argument with one another. And we'll see if what we roll makes sense. Okay, so the first D100, discovering meaning for the first time, we get 44. It was a hunter. Okay. A hunter. Oh my gosh, so double down on hunter. Okay, we rolled... That's crazy. We rolled a D100 twice and got 44 both times. If I recall correctly, if you roll the same result twice on a meanings table, you just kind of double down on that result. So this is most certainly a hunter. Maybe this is a traveling hunter. Maybe this person isn't regularly there in Nismay-le-Bains. Yeah, we can ask, is this a local hunter? I'll call it 50-50. 10 and 3 is 13, yes. So this is a local hunter. Maybe, we have a butcher. Okay, so maybe this is a character that is really well known in a town of 50 for supplying the butcher with their meat. That makes sense to me. And who are they arguing with? Let's roll for another pair of words on the character identity table. 29, we have executive, makes me think the mayor, and 22, executive dependent. Oh, interesting. A dependent to the executive? Is it a maybe like a child of the mayor? I guess we can ask the oracle, was this an altercation between the hunter and some family member of the mayor of Nismay-le-Bains? 50-50. A 4 and a 2 is a no. So dependent on the executive. Does Nismay-le-Bains have any wards? Maybe like a very small number of wards of the village. I think it would be unlikely, but given that we have dependence on the executive and it's not a family member, I think that makes this much more likely. So I'll call this very likely. Does Nismay-le-Bains have a small number of wards? 7 and 1 is 8 plus 2 is 10. So this is neither a ward nor a family member. So if they're dependent on the executive, I'm going to say that this means that this is someone that works for the town of Nisme-le-Bains. And what makes the most sense to me as the third choice here is a guard. So I'm going to say that we have a guard and a hunter that have had an argument of some kind. Okay, they had an altercation, and during this altercation we had a hidden agenda exposed. That's Mystery 74. I'm going to jump back to that. So we're kind of building this up in sequence. So we have a guard and a hunter arguing. I don't know that I want to decide what they were arguing about until we get to this next step. The hidden agenda. A character either reveals or is found out to have a motive that they had not previously exposed. Okay, so what this tells me is that maybe the town of Nisme-le-Bains has some hidden agenda that a guard exposed through their actions with the hunter. That's what I'm initially thinking. So I'm going to ask the Oracle, was it the guard in this altercation that exposed a hidden agenda? And I'm going to say that this is... Ooh, would it have been a hunter? It could have been. I'm going to say that this is very likely that it was the guard. And we get a 4 and a 5 is 9, plus 2 is 11. Yes. So the guard exposed some hidden agenda. Now I'll ask, is this an agenda of this individual guard? Or is this the agenda of the city, of the town, the village, I should say, of Nisme-le-Bains? I'm going to ask, is the hidden agenda the agenda of the town of Nisme-le-Bains? And I'm going to say that this is nearly certain, given our context. 6 and 8 is 14, plus 4 is 18. That is an exceptional yes. So this is 100% the will of the town. That is likely means the will of the mayor and whatever kind of leading class there is here, expressed through this guard. And the hunter didn't expect it, and maybe the denizens, the citizens of Nisme-le-Bains did not expect this hidden agenda. Okay, well, why don't let's think about what could be the hidden agenda of a town. What could they be doing with the hunter? Okay, let's ask the Oracle. My first question is going to be pretty out there. I'm going to ask, did the guards, on seeing the hunter returning from a trip, suddenly attempt to subdue and kidnap the hunter? I'm going to say that this is impossible. Is this impossible? No, it's not really impossible. I'm going to say that this is nearly impossible, that this is what happened. Well, we're going to roll for it just in case. This would be pretty wild turn of events. A roll. We get 7 and 1 is 8, minus 4 is 4. That is a no. No, the guards did not do that. So now, much more likely, I think. Sometimes I like to roll for kind of impossible things just to see if they happen, because it would shake things up. And of course, only if my expectations leads me to some interesting question. So my next question then, if it's not random kidnapping, are the guards trying to prevent the hunter from entering the city? So the town, the village. So the hunter left, and then when they come back, are the guards basically quarantining the city, saying no access, we're on lockdown? That seems, in this case, very likely. You get 6 and a 4 is a 10, plus 2 is 12. Okay, so our hidden agenda that the hunter and the guard got into an altercation over is that the town is on lockdown. The hunter arrived at the edge of Nisme-le-Bains to find guards barring their entrance. Is the guard a woman? Let's roll 50-50. 7 and 1, no. Did I say guard? I meant the hunter. Was the hunter a woman? No. So it was a man. The hunter, he comes back from a hunting trip, is what we're going to assume. And the guards are preventing his access to the village. This is where the hunter lives. So he's obviously very upset about this. This causes a huge problem. And maybe the town is aware of a recent lockdown. So was this lockdown communicated to the village? I'm going to say that's nearly certain. 8 and 2 is 10, plus 4 is 14. So yes, it was communicated to the village because of something serious that must have happened, but the hunter didn't realize it. While the hunter was gone, this lockdown was declared. Okay, now what could have caused this? Was there a heinous crime performed in the city, in the village? A heinous crime performed by an outsider, maybe? Or there could be some kind of disease situation going on. Something. What else could this be? This could be a crime. This could be some kind of situation with disease that they would lock down. Well, actually, we have the next plot point is a character is attacked lethally. So there was an attempt at murder. Was it the mayor? I'll call this likely. Okay, 7 and 5 is what, 12, and then plus 1 is 13, so yes. So this is all making sense. We've got 3 plot points integrated now. There was an assassination attempt on the mayor, and because of this, the mayor has locked down Nisme Lebanes, and the hunter is not allowed to enter. That's the argument that's happening. And now we have a situation of suspicion where, do they know? The suspicion plot point makes me think that they don't exactly know who it was that made an attempt on the mayor's life. Did the mayor live? I'm going to say, based on all of this context, that this is nearly certain that the mayor lived. 6 and 2 is 8, plus 4 is 12. So yes, the mayor lived. And we now have our starting situation. So the town of Nisme Lebanes is on lockdown by the mayor and the town's 5 guards because of an assassination attempt on the mayor's life. Who? Why? Wow. What are we stumbling into? This is a really cool turning point. And so this is the power of the adventure crafter. We've now generated our first turning point. This situation is the turning point, and this is the backdrop to the beginning of our solo campaign. So now I want to know, do Shatha and Sambor know that this is happening in Nisme Lebanes? Are they heading to the village because of this situation? I'm going to call this likely. We get a 10 and an 8. That is a 19. That's an exceptional yes. Okay, so this is expressly the reason why they have journeyed to Nisme Lebanes. And so that begs the question, when did this happen? How did we learn about this? Were we in a neighboring settlement? Were we in one of the closest settlements to Nisme Lebanes? I'm going to say this is 50-50. 10 and 17, or 10 and 7 is a 17. That is a yes. So we were in some nearby settlement, and we traveled to Nisme Lebanes for this purpose. When the hunter was turned away, did the hunter kind of spread the rumor that Nisme Lebanes is locked down due to local suspicion over an assassination attempt? I'll call this nearly certain. 6 and 3 is 9, plus 4 is 13. That is a yes. So this is exactly what happened. The hunter left, went to whatever other settlement is nearby. We'll use the sandbox generator to build the region around Nisme Lebanes, and so we'll just say that whatever the closest settlement is, that is where our characters came from. So the opening scene then should be Sambor and Shatha arriving at the village of Nisme Lebanes, and this is going to be our first scene. They understand that there's a lockdown in place, and so they're going to need to convince the local guards that they're here to help resolve the situation. Okay, so let's kick things off. We're going to start the first scene. We're going to initialize the chaos factor to the middle of the road value of 5. That's the default value for the chaos factor at the start of an adventure. And let's imagine Sambor and Shatha walking, we're going to say, they are walking towards Nisme Lebanes. And I want to know, first off, are they walking on a road? Is there some like simple road that goes through? We know that there is a road that goes through Nisme Lebanes. Are they following this road? I'm going to say that this is very likely. Okay. 7 plus 2 is 9, no. So they're not following the road. They're kind of crossing the hills, maybe walking through the valleys between larger hills when they, as they approach Nisme Lebanes. Are they having some philosophical conversation? If these are peacekeeping knights and if we have this Jedi kind of flavor to them, I imagine that there's some kind of philosophical discussion that they're having. Why don't we roll on the character conversations table? We'll discover meaning here and see if we can't come up with any kind of introductory philosophical discussion for master and apprentice Lonely Knight to be having. Okay. The first word we get is 42. This is glad. And 71. Glad, miserable. Okay, so they're having a conversation about remaining happy even through suffering. And Shatha is challenging Sambor to, when we arrive at Nisme Lebanes, to notice the pain and the suffering that's being caused by this moment of tension and maybe cruelty, who knows, but to also look for signs of perseverance, signs of happiness despite the issues, and to basically be cognizant of the happiness that is juxtaposed. Am I saying that word right? The happiness that goes along with or opposes suffering. Interesting. So this is a philosophical conversation that they're having as they approach Nisme Lebanes. And I'm imagining that they come around the bend in between hills and they see stretched before them the town. And we know that it's in, the town has this kind of a row layout, right? So here's a visual. And we're not approaching from the main road. We're kind of approaching from the side so we can see the watchtowers, one at each end of the village. And there are guards. Are they guarding the road, assuming that no one's just going to walk up from the side? I'm going to say that this is pretty likely. I'll say that it's very likely. And we get a 3 and a 2 plus 2 is 7. So no, they're not only guarding the ends of the roads. Okay, so maybe we have like a guard in each watchtower that we can see. And of course our characters don't know that there's only 5 guards, but they do see the watchtowers. Do the guards in the watchtowers notice and spot the Lonely Knights approaching the town? I'm going to say this is 50-50. They've got a higher vantage point. They're actually supposed to be on a lookout with a true lockdown. So I'm going to say that this is actually very likely that we get spotted as we approach the town. 2 and 2 plus 2 is 6. That is a no. And this is also a random event. So we just rolled doubles, 2s, under the chaos factor of 5 currently. So we get our first random event. So we're approaching, Sambor and Shatha are approaching the town of Nisme Lebanes, not from the road, from the hills, which the guards are not expecting. They're obviously not looking there when something random happens. Okay, before we roll on this table, I think we should update our adventure journal. So I have this page pulled up. Here I have an adventure journal. This is a form fillable PDF from the Wordmill Games website. I'll link that below. I also have an adventure list here. So we have our threads. These are the goals that we're following, and we have our characters list. So we actually need to populate these lists before we generate the random event, because it's possible that our random event will refer to items in these lists. Okay, so I've populated the threads list with one thread, which is relieve tension in Nisme Lebanes. And this is really what Shatha and Sambor are after. They want the lockdown situation, the tension here to be resolved. Whether we find the assassin or not, whatever the outcome is, the goal is to leave the town in a more peaceful and kind of cohesive state than we found it in. And I've added a few different characters to the list. We've got Groan, who is the mayor of Nismay-le-Bains. We've got the hunter, right, that was turned away. I've added an entry for Nismay-le-Bains citizens. So if we roll here, then we'll just generate a new citizen of the town as necessary. And then we have the assassin in case that this character decides to act again. Okay, so our adventures list is populated. All right, we've got our adventure journal. So now I'm going to head back to the Mythic Game Master Emulator. We're going to roll for a random event focus. So something happens as Shatha and Shambor are approaching the village. Our event focus is 42, NPC negative. Something negative happens to one of the NPCs in our lists. So we're going to roll for an NPC. I'm going to roll a d10, and we get 8. Something negative happens to the assassin. Interesting. Okay, so now we need a pair of action words. Something negative happens to the assassin. All right, this is already going to be interesting to interpret as we're approaching. Okay, so D100, 82, separate 51, separate leadership. Is this separate leadership? Is this someone trying to maybe come between Shatha and Shambor? Shatha is Sambor's leader, guardian. Maybe they come under attack immediately. I'm going to say that this is... It has to be something that we can see right now. So I'm going to say that this is very likely. A 10 and a 2 plus is 12 plus 2 is 4. So yes, the characters are under attack by the assassin. This is something negative for them because they don't realize they just came across a lonely knight and challenged them in combat. So I'm going to say that this is the assassin. Is Nismay-le-Bains largely a town of humans? I actually don't know. We'll call this 50-50. 9 and 3, 10, 11, 12 is yes. So it's mostly humans, so we can assume that this is a human that's attacking us. Okay, outside of Nismay-le-Bains. And are they dressed in black? I'm going to call this, I don't know, just likely, because maybe not. 7 and 6 is 13, yes. So we have a character dressed in black that's approaching us. Do they say something like, stand and deliver, blade drawn, approaching us? Yeah, I'm going to say this is very likely. 6 and 3 is 9, plus 2 is 11, yes. So we have this character in black. Do they have a mask? Nearly certain. 6 and 1 is 7, plus 4 is 11. So yes, this character in mask approaches us as we round the bend in the hills and says, stand and deliver, blade drawn, looking at Shatha and Shambor expectantly. Maybe they say it very aggressively. And Shatha and Shambor are not phased. They kind of look at each other. And I want to know how Shatha reacts to this. Does Shatha say something along the lines of, like, my friend, what can I do for you? Calmly and peacefully, as if he wasn't being threatened with a blade at this very moment. I'm going to say this is nearly certain. 16 plus 4 is 20. And that is an exceptional yes. So Shatha is being a role model for Shambor, keeping his cool in this obviously combative situation. Maybe Shambor has his hand on his hilt, and like he's ready to go. Sambor's probably always wanting to prove himself. He's always trying to be good enough to become a lonely knight. But Shatha just keeps his cool and says, "My friend, what can we help you with?" Does our enemy shout once again, aggressively spitting, blade brandishing, stand and deliver one more time in the face of this calm reaction from Shatha? I'm going to say that this is nearly certain. We get 10 and 11 plus 4 is 15. That is a yes. Okay, so Shambor is going to say, "You'll get no coin from us." And seriously, trying to stare down the highwayman intensely. And Shatha is going to maybe say, "Patience, young Sambor," and turn back to the highwayman. "What can we help you with? What do you need?" He asks the highwayman what he needs in kind of a sympathetic way. Does this slightly disarm the highwayman, even in the slightest? 50-50. 6 and 4 is a 10. No. Okay, so the highwayman is not phased. Maybe does the highwayman like seriously threaten us next? I'm going to say this is nearly certain. 9 and 3 is 12 plus 4 is 16. So yes, the highwayman says something along the lines of, hand over your gold or I'll run you through. And now I want to know, does Shatha basically say that we're heading into the village? Yeah, I think Shatha is going to ask this highwayman to please calmly step aside. We're peaceful. We're traveling to Nisme Labanes, and we have we want no trouble with you, sir. If you don't mind, please step out of our way, and we're going to carry on to the village, nice and calm. And I'm definitely getting the Qui-Gon vibe from Shatha. Okay, so that's what Shatha does. Something like, please kindly step out of our way. We're peaceful travelers. We're heading to the town. Does the highwayman now get frustrated and actually attack? I'm going to say that this is nearly certain. 9 and 1 plus 4 is 10 plus 4. That's 14. So yes, we're going to go into combat, chainmail combat, in the very first scene of our adventure. I'm excited. Now, it's going to take just a minute to explain how combat works in Chainmail, so I think I'm going to leave you on a cliffhanger here. So sorry for that. I'm excited for the next session, though. In today's session, we used the Adventure Crafter to create an opening scenario. We have conflict in Nisme Labanes surrounding an assassination attempt that has led to the mayor choosing to lock down the town with their substantial force of 5 guards defending the city from anyone entering or presumably leaving. We might have to ask that, which is really cool. And then on the road, while traveling through the hills towards Nisme Labane, we actually had a highwayman that is actually the assassin jump out at us. We don't know that it's the assassin. This is some meta knowledge we have. Jump out at us and basically shout, "Stand and deliver." We're going to enter into combat at the beginning of the next session. If you enjoyed today's session, don't forget to hit that like button and to subscribe for more solo role-playing content. And if that's not enough, you'll find even more solo role-playing actual plays in written format on my blog at lonelydungeoneer.blog. Thanks again for watching. I'm the Lonely Dungeoneer, and this has been Session 5 of Let's Play Chainmail Solo. Until we meet again, happy delving, and fight on!